Hello, my love.
Hey, baby.
How are you?
I'm good. How about you?
I am good. What's good about you?
What's good about me?
Okay.
Well, we made a lot of progress, with our book. The day was good.
Mm-hmm.
Getting a lot of engagement on that, so that's great.
Mm-hmm.
Glad to finally be able to get out this project that we've been working on for a little minute now. So
Mm-hmm.
being able to drum up some excitement around that, so things are good.
Yeah, they are good. I was excited when you were like, okay, babe, let's just go ahead and post the wait list for the
hmm
book. I was really excited about it and I was ready to share.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
I'm glad it's finally moving forward in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
Even though we still got some other little things, to work on.
Yeah.
At least now, we're making those big strides forward. So that was a big deal.
Yeah. Definitely a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we wrote a book. Like, what? All on our own. Like
Yeah.
what?
Easy
Like
money.
like we were talking about it like it's such a like, oh yeah, we wrote a book, created a wait list, trying to positively impact relationships, marriages.
Yeah.
No big deal. It is a big deal. It's a
It
very big
is.
deal. It is a very big deal because like who does this? So I think it's dope.
Yeah, especially the fact that you had been talking about doing something like this for a long time.
Years.
Yeah.
I've been told you like years ago, I'm like, babe, I think we should write a book.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know what the book should be about, but I just knew we had so much like knowledge and wisdom
Mm-hmm.
on a lot of things.
Yeah.
On a lot of things. And I just was like, no, we need to write a book. And then it kind of stopped at we need to write a book because we didn't really know what it needed to contain. So
Mm-hmm.
then we started doing the podcast and it's like, okay, well, why not talk about what we do in our marriage and then put it in a book? So,
Yeah, and I think what's dope about it is the fact that everything that's in there is actionable stuff.
mm-hmm.
And it's not necessarily about, our life story and all of that stuff, because I feel like right now we're so in it.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's like we're in the middle of the story right now.
Mm-hmm.
So like that book that's about us is later.
Yeah, for
You know
sure.
what I mean? I
For
feel like
sure.
it's way later down the road.
Right.
But for right now, we can be able to put out something that is genuinely useful, that has the ability to be extremely impactful,
Right.
and that really does allow us to be able to showcase stuff that we've really done in our marriage. So
Right.
I think that's dope.
Right.
And that's stuff that we've literally used for years.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no theory behind it. There's no make believe. Like it's to the point. Like, hey, this is the type of stuff that we've done, that we've talked about, that we've shared, discussed. Things that have made us better for each other together and individually.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, man, this is definitely a big deal.
It is. I'm excited for everything that's going to come because of it. All the people we're going to impact, the marriages that'll be put in that number one spot again in their lives and not put on the back burner and stuff like that. So I'm excited for the impact that it's going to make.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it's gonna be bigger than what we expect. And I ain't gonna say what we expect. I think it's just gonna be big, period.
I think so too.
It's gonna be big just because I know that when people actually do it, how can it not be?
Pretty much.
Yeah, that's what I meant
like
with
pretty
it.
much. Yeah. If you actually do what the book says in your own way with your own person, there's no way you can't get anything out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I absolutely agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm excited.
Me too. So since we've been working on this, I guess what are you the most excited for in this process? Because this is real new for us.
Mm-hmm.
Especially going from, us just doing the show and all of the other abundance of projects we've worked on before. Like this one is, again, I know something we've talked about for a while, but this is a completely new lane for us.
It is. What was the question though?
What are you the most excited for?
Oh.
I'm sorry.
What am I most excited about? I don't know. I think I've already said, like, I'm excited for the impact that it's going to make. I'm excited to see people actually make their marriage a priority in their lives. Like, you chose to be with someone for the rest of your life. Like, y'all's union should be important. It should be a priority. So I'm excited to see what that's going to look like for other people, you know, and how it's going to change, their marriage and their lives individually, you know? Because I feel like our marriage has inspired me to be better individually, you know, and watching you grow and us just grow together. It inspires me to be better all the time. So I'm always looking for ways to work on myself so I can be better for me, better for us, and in the direction that we're going in. So I'm excited to see people have aspirations for their marriage. Does that? I hope that came out the way that
You did good, boo.
Okay. What are you thinking about?
So I want to pose a question so that way we can get our own, insight on it individually and together.
Okay.
So for you, what does it mean to have a truly above average marriage? Like, what does that mean to you?
What does an above average marriage mean to me? To me, it's creating a marriage that is uniquely defined between the two people. Being okay with it not looking like everybody else's. Being super intentional about your marriage and the communication in your marriage, the connection, the intimacy in your marriage, going above when it comes to the person that you're with and when it comes to the union that you have with each other. Yeah, I think like it's my answer is kind of basic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's interesting about that? Well, before I even get into that, like telling you my own, like being in an above average marriage is like where there's, to me, high interest, high intention, high effort, and high commitment. And where two people deeply care about not only each other, but they care about themselves and how they're showing up for themselves and each other.
Absolutely.
And that sounds so simple, but that's, I think, the point of it. Because even though there's simplicity in that, a lot of people still don't do it. There's so much simplicity in being above average, but it's so easy not to do it. It's really easy not to care deeply and to show up and want to be able to be that person that your spouse needs and can depend on, and somebody who's truthful and faithful, and somebody who goes above and beyond to be able to not only show that they're committed to the union, but also being interested in their partner and interested in each other and investing in one another. Like, it's one of those things to where when you're truly committed to it, you have a high level of effort that you put into the union.
Absolutely.
And I think a lot of people are easily able to understand that in other areas outside of marriage because they do it in their jobs. They can do it, if you run a business or own a business or whatever the case, if you're into sports, people can do it in all types of other areas where they have that same type of high interest, high effort, but they won't apply those same type of principles and that same type of effort to their marriages. So that's what it means to me to be like above average and to actually care deeply about the one that you're with.
Right.
And to literally go above and beyond for that person. Like, not to a point to where it depletes you, but in a sense to where you're adding, to where you're giving so much and also getting so much back together, that you're fueling each other, that you're supporting one another, that you're collaborating, that you're being on each other's team and helping one another grow and expand and become more and being intentional.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean? And it's easily said, and apparently not so easily done. So that's how I look at it.
I think that was a great answer.
Just a lot of words.
It is a lot of words, but I think that's a good answer. And I'm over here it made me think, like, why is that so hard for some people in their marriage? Like, that's what, like, my mind went to. Like you said, it sounds so simple, but what makes it actually difficult to do?
I think life makes it hard. I think life makes it hard because life in and of itself is hard. Marriage isn't hard. But what happens is we get so overly consumed with life that something has to take the back burner. And what people can end up doing is when they feel like they've already got the marriage, they feel like they could step away from the marriage, prioritize other things without communicating that, and get so used to doing that to where the marriage ends up getting placed on the back burner. And that over time becomes a problem. It's not anything that says like, hey, you know what, we need to work on this particular thing over here, or I'm really focused on trying to get this thing established or get us to this place or whatever the case may be, or I need to prioritize this for a season. A lot of people don't have that type of communication. They just decide to do it and they set the marriage down and then they just go off and do whatever, thinking that, all right, well, we already married, like the marriage will be here. And you do that over time enough times, before you know it, the marriage ain't even the reason that you're doing it for in the first place.
Right.
It's not even about advancing the union. It's about you doing what you feel like doing, and the marriage is just this other thing that I'm in. And I think that that's what makes it hard, because you got all of these other competing priorities. You got anything from, yeah, that's the puppy. You got anything from dealing with, work, business, bills, kids, health, family, friends. You got all of these other competing priorities, and people sometimes fail to realize that above all of those things, you really should prioritize your marriage, and they don't really understand how to be able to communicate them and to prioritize them things based off of what's going on in their lives. And again, sometimes the marriage just ends up being the one to take the short end of the stick.
Yeah.
Because what is that? Neglect.
It is. And it just makes me think, because I feel like we were talking earlier today how people will blame the marriage for being the problem, but it's not the marriage that's the problem. It's the two people. It's the two people who have neglected the marriage. It's the two people who have lost sight of the fact that the marriage should be a priority. It's the two people in the marriage who have put so much stuff on top of, or so much stuff in front of, the marriage. You know what I'm saying? So, and people will blame, well, you shouldn't get married, or the marriage did it. It's not the marriage. It's the two people. And you have to take ownership of your role in your marriage. Both people do, and recognizing that there are going to be external factors that are going to come and distract and disrupt you within your marriage. But it's still up to you to take ownership of that and say, hey, no, this is still, my husband is still my priority, period. And I would hope you would say, your wife is.
Of course I am.
And
of course you are.
Of course. But it's just like, take ownership of that. It's like, okay, if we're going to be married, we should be putting each other as a priority, period. But like you said, I get life being in the way. That's a funny way to say it. But
right. As if life ain't going to be there until you're gone.
Right. Like, life is going to do what it does. So.
But I mean, that's why, people, a lot of the times, they opt back to communication, which is a very real thing, but it's such a broad thing to say. Like when you say like the issue was the communication or something like that, it's so broad that it doesn't help anybody when you say that.
Right.
And then it's like, all right, well, if communication is a problem, it's like, all right, you could talk, you could say that you over communicate and things like that, but you could still say those things or try to do it and it still not be effective. Like, for example, if you're in a situation and life is just busy, like a lot is going on, at some point in time, like, you know, a man and wife just sit down and be like, hey, what all do we have going on in life right now? Because so much is going on, and where are we going? All right, let's organize this thing. All right, so I know that you're getting pulled in these directions to do all of this stuff or whatever. Are you okay there? Are you feeling overwhelmed? Can you handle these things? Is there any way that I can help? Is there an area in your lane that I might be better suited to come in and help in that particular space? This is all I got going on. These are the things that I'm working on. I feel like I could use your help over here, or whatever the case may be, if you have that type of expertise. Or is there something in here that we can just get rid of? Is there something in here that we got going on that does not contribute to where we're trying to go together?
Right.
Are there any priorities in here that we're giving attention to that maybe we shouldn't?
Right.
Is there some stuff that we could cut loose? Is there some things in there that we might need to be able to come together on? And how are we going to do that thing collectively or together or apart or whatever the case may be in order to get us where we're ultimately trying to go? And how long are we going to have this type of scattered focus where you're working on the stuff that you got going on, you working on the stuff that you got going on? What end goal are we working toward to where we can settle this thing and then come back together to work toward whatever this thing is together? Like, because you can divide and conquer, but it needs to be an end date to that thing. It needs to be a conclusion that brings you back together to refocus together and move forward together. And not a lot of people, like, they'll divide and never come back.
Yeah.
And then when they do come back, it's like, oh, it's a date night. Or it's, oh, we need to take a trip or something like that, which is a stress relief. But you didn't organize your life for y'all to be able to prioritize being together outside of just the date nights and the vacations and stuff like that. But just literally doing life together in the simplest of ways, be it eating together, walking together, working out together, sitting in bed and freaking just talking, reading, or whatever it is, just being a part of each other's everyday, day-to-day lives, doing nothing together and just being close. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but I think that plays a huge role in it. Like, life can be so demanding in so many directions that people divide to conquer and never end up coming back. And they just stay there.
And then even when you say, like, divide to conquer what?
Conquer whatever they got going on in their individual lanes. And then next thing you know is like, oh, I need time, or you don't appreciate what I got going on. It's not that they don't appreciate it. It's just the fact that they busy and got stuff going on too. And now they feeling like you don't appreciate what they do. So now you in conflict.
You know, even that, like, it's so confusing to me, because it's like, okay, if we're going to divide and conquer life, period, why are we married? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't understand that concept. Like, the point of getting married, the point of having a union or a part of it, is to do life together. I understand, like, the concept of, like, having your own individual things that you handle and stuff like that, but it should not be so far apart to where you're completely disconnected from each other. Because that's not even the point. Like, because why be married? Just be single and do your own individual things. Yeah. If you're not connected in this way, then what is it all for?
Absolutely.
So that's where my mind immediately goes. Because I'm like, dang, like, I'm thinking about myself, obviously. Like, if I wanted to do this shit alone, I would have did it alone. Like, I wouldn't have even entertained you. Like, that's how it should be. Like, if you want to do life by yourself, don't get into marriage. But I think a lot of people have done that, though. I think a lot of people have actually gotten married and still wanted to live their own individual lives. And it didn't turn out great, so they blame marriage for it. People get married for their own selfish reasons and blame marriage as a whole as the problem, when that wasn't even the problem. And I hate that that's the is it stigma on marriage
narrative.
the narrative. That's a better way to say it. Like the narrative on marriage, like marriage itself is bad. No. Just the two people who were in the marriage, they just weren't a fit for each other. Their goals weren't the same. Their values weren't the same. Well, not even their goals were the same, but their values weren't the same. They didn't know where they were going together. So them getting married actually didn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Or they didn't know how to work together to where they could make it work. Because like even, I mean, let's just being real, you know, about life. As you get older, if you're making any type of progress in general, like life gets more demanding the older you get.
Yeah.
It's like it starts off demanding because you're trying to find your way in the world, doing a lot, making a lot of mistakes. But then when you come together with two people, life gets even more demanding, especially the more you're introducing new things into it or the longer that you're together. You know what I mean? Be it from kids, be it careers and work. I mean, because inflation is real.
Oh, that's
so a lot of the times, you know, people are progressing into their job fields or work or whatever the case, which means if you going up in your work field, 9 times out of 10, your stress is going up too. Your workload is going up too. And your obligations are raising. If you got kids, they demanding. You know what I mean? Like life gets demanding. And you try to have some type of other life to where you could feel human outside of all of your other obligations too. And then if you got multiple kids and a house to be able to take care of, you got all of these other stuff, whatever, like it gets demanding. And not a lot. How many people out here being trained on how to juggle all of that stuff and be able to manage it? It's one of those things where you get put in it, or matter of fact, you walk into it. You
decide.
Yeah.
That's a choice. Everything you said was a choice. Like marriage is a choice. Your children are a choice. Your job is a choice. So
you do those things.
Yeah. Okay.
And then you get there, and then a lot of people don't learn in the process on how to manage those things. And granted, you would think that some people learn by experience, by being exposed to it and being inside of it and all of that stuff. But that's not the case. That's like somebody like, people build businesses and don't know how to run them.
Yeah.
Or people get into fitness and don't know how to work out.
Right.
You know, you can go in there and do the stuff.
Yeah.
But you don't know how to be effective. And so learning how to be effective individually, and you bring somebody else into it, and you got to be effective with another person, and then be able to organize all of this stuff together. Like some people don't. That's chaos for some people. And so they don't learn how to do that. And then if you're not actively trying to learn how to do that together, you really at a loss. You know what I mean? And so like when I think about it just from the most natural human standpoint that I can, it's tough for people. Like it really can be tough for people. And I think
what is tough? With like marriage itself?
No, of course
no. What are you saying? Yeah, what are you saying?
I'm saying that navigating life with another person can be tough.
Okay. I just wanted to name the it.
What the it in this life can be tough.
Yes.
And navigating life when you brought another life into your life can be tough, especially as both of your lives individually and together are constantly expanding.
Right.
And you're not learning how to be able to experience that expansion together to be able to help each other. Right. If you don't know how to delegate, if you don't know how to maximize your partner and help them in the things that they excel at, if you don't know when you ought to fall back and let your partner come through and help, or when you ought to step up and be able to do certain things, and then be able to come together and figure out how best to love on and support each other, refuel each other to go back and do the things that you both need to do for each other. That's a skill. And you got to care deeply about the person that you're with and yourself to really start being able to analyze all of that chaos and learn how to make it work.
Let me tell you something. Even out of all the chaos we've gone through, like military, us becoming entrepreneurs, parenting, all that stuff, I have never not been obsessed with you.
That's facts. You have been crazy.
So like some Oh my God. So sometimes I can't lie. It's hard for me to understand when people don't have an obsession with their partner.
Mm-hmm.
Because my love for you and how, like, even with everything going crazy, I was in the military full time and going to school full time. You was in the field. I was taking care of baby while you was in the field. Like, all this stuff. I never was not obsessed with you. I never was not thinking about you, figuring out how I can still care for you and show up for you, even when you weren't even there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So in my in my head and my heart, I can't process not caring for the man that I married to such an extent,
Mm-hmm.
to where I was okay with us drifting apart.
Mm-hmm.
Innocent. Does that make sense?
I get it.
I know you get it, but I'm making like, did it come out right?
People that are hearing.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's hard to process. It's hard to process conditions that you haven't been through.
Right.
And so I get that.
Yeah.
Like, again, I think our start, was it was simpler because we grew into adulthood together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think we had that advantage. Some people start in adulthood together and then they trying to mix a lot.
Yeah.
And so, like, I feel like that, what I'm saying is, like, it's not an excuse because it works. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It works. It has for,
yeah.
For history. Like, it's always worked. You know what I mean? It's just that it adds another level of complexity to it, to where the effort and the interest and intention have to really, really be there.
Yeah.
And so, like, for us, like I was saying, it's like we started out young, not really with a whole lot, still trying to find our way through the world. And we already, of course, we had a high level of obsession with each other, and we grew into life together. But I can see that for a lot of people who may be a little bit further on and have dealt with a lot more life, especially into adulthood and things like that, I could see where it could just be a little bit more difficult to make that blend of lives easier.
I'm not talking about blending lives. I ain't talking about that. I'm just talking about just caring about your person enough, being interested in your person, like caring about them being in your daily life.
Yeah.
Like caring about what's going on in their life. Like even if you're both going after your own individual things, and it takes time away from each other, still caring enough to check in on each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's what I'm not talking about. I'm not talking about like, life doing this thing. I'm just talking about just genuinely caring.
Yeah.
Like I married you for a reason. Like I love you and I want to be here for you through any and everything. And there's been times where we've had to go after individual things, but we've never been to where it's like, I don't care what's going on enough to check in on you.
That's real.
Or enough to support you some kind of way. So that's why I say I don't understand the
lack of caring.
The feelings. Like where are the feelings?
Yeah.
Like, does that make sense?
Yeah, because it don't seem like it makes sense.
It's
like, how in the world did you get married and decide to spend your life with somebody and then not care about them deeply?
Yes.
Like very, very deeply.
Yes. And I understand, people be like, don't marry for love and all that stuff. I get it. But I'm like, in my mind and in my heart, through my own experiences, I can't process just not giving a fuck about you. I just can't. And like, I know you say like we grew into adulthood together. I've seen people grow into adulthood and split. So that ain't even like, that's irrelevant, because I'm like, bro, we met at 18. We're 32 now, or about to be 32. Like, that is a lot of time. We've changed so much. We could have easily changed in different directions and been completely just like disgusted with each other.
Yeah.
That didn't happen though. Why did that not happen? because we were highly interested. We cared so much about each other. We were truly committed to each other. The effort we had already put into each other. We were already best friends. Like, it was just so much there that we just had so much shit stacked. And maybe people don't got enough shit stacked to build on.
They shit stacking up. I don't know.
They shit. Maybe no. I'm really trying to. I'm like trying to understand this in real time, babe. I'm trying to understand in real time.
And there might be some stuff that you just don't get. Like, I think for me, it's like we talk about all the time. It's like it's one of those things to where we may not understand it. Like we won't ever be able to understand it personally, like because it wasn't our experience.
Yeah.
It's just that what I can do is I can empathize with the fact that I know it comes with a level of complexity that I have not lived through.
Of course.
And I know that it can be a little bit difficult. I know that you can care a lot and you can still make mistakes. Like, I know that you can care really deeply and still some kind of way end up, you know, in your own little bubble or world or whatever, completely by accident. And I mean, and I didn't talk to enough husbands at this time, and shoot, couples too, at this point to know that sometimes the divides that happen are completely on accident. It's not because there's no love or there's no caring or anything like that or whatever. It's the fact that sometimes people really get caught up in life and they think that what they're caught up in makes them a good partner. And they think that I'm doing all of this stuff for my family and that I'm doing all of this stuff to take care of us or whatever. But we're not realizing that the fact that they haven't intimately came together in the midst of all of that is creating a void. Because what I've seen happen in real life is people start being in a marriage or a relationship with the idea of the other person, with the idea of how they think they feel or how they think that they may look at whatever it is they're doing. They start creating scenarios and they care and they do all of these things or whatever. And they just some kind of way just never, I don't know, find a time or get intentional enough to come back together or whatever. And like stuff just happens. And it don't make sense. Like, I don't know how in the world you could allow something like that to happen, but it does.
Yeah, and I'm definitely not taking away from the fact that it does happen. Like, it does happen. Obviously, it hasn't been our experience. But when I think about that, like, you know, when you care about somebody, you love them deeply, and you're still drifting apart, and you're still trying to do all you can for your family. If you care deeply, or if you love them deeply, you should want to know what they need. In order to know what your family needs, there needs to be conversations, right? Mm-hmm. There can't be assumptions of what you think they might need, because that's not you caring about what they actually need. Is you caring about what you think they might need, and that's about you and not about them. Or am I? Like, did that come out right?
What you're highlighting is the fact that it really is simple.
Yeah.
But as simple as it is to do, it's also really easy not to do. And that, I think that's where the friction for you is.
Yeah.
It's the fact that it really is simple, but it's also really easy not to do. And it's the fact that it's like sometimes we feel like it has to be a more complicated reason or a more deeper, heartfelt, meaningful, like epiphany creating type reason as to why it's like that. And I think it's the fact that it's really, really simple, but it's also so simple, yet so easy not to do. Because at the same time, sometimes the things that are really easy to do are equally easy not to do. And sometimes those same easy things make huge impacts in our lives. But if you don't do those easy things, what you could end up doing is overly focusing on the hard things, forgetting that it's those smaller, easy things that would have made everything else like stick together, and they get overlooked. Because like you were saying before, like, knowing what your family needs. As a guy, most dudes will assume they know what that is in their head.
Right.
And they never got to talk to their spouse. They'll talk to their dad or their other dude, husband, friends, or somewhere else. And they be like, all right, a man does, all right, I'm going to go to work. I'm going to make sure the cars is good. All right, I'm going to make sure that, you know, I pay for the kids and they lunch, whatever, the bills is paid or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So in their mind, they created the priority list. And all of that stuff about how their wife needs to feel and emotions and stuff, gone. It's never even a thought. It's like, this is what I assume I need to be doing. And I ain't never gonna check. Like, you have to bring that to my attention. Like, and dudes will do that. Like, they will do everything they've heard they supposed to do and will never check. And it sounds easy. Ask your wife. And we'll never do it. We'll never do it. And then we'll ask and still won't do it.
It sounds dumb to not do that. Like, dude, ask your wife what she needs. Don't ask another husband what he think that you're.
Yeah, and it's the same on the reverse end. You know, like, some husbands will tell that, you know, their wives that they need certain things or whatever. And to them, logically or whatever, like, it makes sense. Hey, this is what I need. And then it could end up becoming this whole battle. Like, all right, well, that's not as important as this other. We've seen that.
Yeah, no,
We've seen that stuff. You know what I'm saying? To where now it's a battle of who needs is more important than the other person.
Yeah.
And that type of crap happens. And it's all dumb. And it could all be handled very simply, but most people in there, from what I assume to be accidental neglect and this freaking happenstance. Nobody tries to get there. They end up there and then they don't know how to get out.
I agree with that. I definitely agree with that.
It's like the whole, you look up one day and you're like, damn, who is this person next to me? Or how in the world did we get here? Nobody ever actually knows. Like, you can assume and hypothetical and come up with all these ways of what you think contributed to it. But it was a whole bunch of small steps along the way over an extended period of time that led to this place. And eventually it got bigger. By the time you noticed it, you was already 20 steps in.
That makes sense. And it's unfortunate.
It is.
I just want people to have beautiful marriages.
Obviously.
I live in a fairy tale land.
You know what though? But real talk, I don't even think that even when things like that happen, if two people really care about each other, sometimes you really do just have to learn how to be there for each other and like just like take it from the top.
Yeah, and like what that makes me think about is like how you showed up for me when we was 21 is way different than how you show up for me at 31. We've still had to learn each other through life too.
Yeah, and which is a perfect first step.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it might be like, you know what, I just need to get to know this person that I'm with now over again.
Right.
Because in either person's mind, they could think that they're still married to somebody from a year, 2, 5, 10 years ago.
Absolutely.
So it's like, no, let's recenter ourselves. Let's refocus and really spend some time just getting to know each other on a deeper level over again.
Yes.
And then we can build and create that love just off of being interested in each other. And then we can start to navigate life again.
You know what's so dope about what you said? In our new book, we have some questions and all that stuff, some challenges that'll definitely help with that. Literally helps with that exact thing. Relearning your partner all over again.
Quite literally. And the interesting thing about that is the challenges that we have in the book, we've literally done all of them joints, some of them multiple times in the same year. 3 months go by and we got to redo one. And it's not, granted, for us, it's not in challenge form.
Yeah.
But we go through those same process of reestablishing goals, discussing what our values are. And by values, it's like, all right, what's important to us right now? Because your values dictate your actions and where your focus are. And so we will come back to those moments like, all right, this is where we're going. This is what's happening in life right now. This is what's important to all of us. And then we decide on what's going to happen next together and how we can support each other. And we have done that so many different times throughout the years. Like, and we've never drifted apart, felt unsupported, unvalued, unappreciated, none of that. Because we always come back to those trademark freaking instrumental strategies that we've used to literally keep us locked in.
Absolutely.
We've never stepped away from them, ever. And that's why people be looking at me weird when I be like, no, bro, we don't argue. Like, no, I've never felt like my wife didn't support me. I've never felt underappreciated. I don't know what that's like. Like, I don't know. We can't relate. You know what I'm saying?
We can't relate.
I'm like, because we have always been intentional about that. I've always made it a point, especially for me as a man, if it was something that I wasn't sure about with you, I'm going to ask you, where we at right now?
Because I'm the only one with the answer.
Literally. And you've done the same thing with me. And I'm like, I'm not about to sit here and just try to guess and like, oh, you know, I'm the man, I'm the leader, I'm just going to go ahead and pull the trigger. It don't make no sense if you do that crap and you running out there by yourself with nobody covering your six. Because I can go and do whatever I'm doing, but if my wife ain't got no clue of what's happening, what's going on, even if it's not all the details, she needs to know enough to be able to support me effectively. And if I got to do something that pulls me outside of my normal pattern, she's aware of it. If I got to stay up late, go somewhere, travel somewhere, do some other stuff that might be outside of my norm at the time, it's not a surprise. And we able to stay on the same page and I get the same level of support that she's always giving me and nothing falls through the cracks by communicating and staying on the same page. And you don't ever have to know all the details if it's not necessary.
Facts.
And vice versa. But we're included enough to be able to give each other what we need.
Yeah.
And that's how we do it.
Yeah.
Now, when other people don't do that for us, it gets a little complicated.
Yeah.
We like, bro, how do y'all not do this?
Not do
but
that?
We've only ever did this. And I don't know how we just, you know, it's like, you know, wisdom. Wisdom, you know, just rain down over us and we
God
do
is
this.
Good.
Yeah, big God. You know, big G. For real.
Top G.
Yeah, for real. And it's just worked out that way.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've told you plenty of times before, the way like how our marriage has worked over the years. I'm telling you, God was up and through our marriage, because how did we know certain things before we knew certain things?
I do know one thing I always said to myself, literally since we've been married, is I never want my wife to have to guess what's going on with me. I don't know what made me think that or what made me feel that or what triggered that into being something that I wanted to carry with me. But I've said that to myself for years. Like, I don't remember ever not saying that. Like, I never want you to have to guess what's going on with me. And I think that's probably been a huge reason as to why I've always kept you so included, sometimes even overly included, because then you get worked up. You don't know what the hell I'm talking about. You spaz out. And I had to learn how to give you just enough information.
Yeah.
And if it really didn't apply to you, I'm like, bro, just give her enough. Give her enough. And then you go deal with the rest. So I had to learn how to be able to measure that. And that's just time and effort.
That's so dope, though. That you know me enough to be able to do that too.
took some time.
Yeah.
It took not doing that a whole bunch of times. So I was like, hey man, all right, she typically responds like this. What all does she actually need to know in this? Because it's like, you didn't have the experience that I had. You didn't get the information that I got. You're not learning the same things that I'm learning or whatever.
And you be so hyping on 1,000.
And sometimes like too much information can be a bad thing.
Too much brand new information and hype energy. I'm like, you just talking 20 miles an hour. I don't know, like 45 miles an hour. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Sounds good, babe. And then my mind starts to going and I'm like, wait a second. Anxiety.
Yeah, just crazy. So just had to learn how to, control that, and again, give you just enough to where you could be able to feel good about whatever's going on.
Yeah.
Or to be able to support the way that you needed to, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
And that was just learned over time. Again, didn't start that way.
Yeah.
But eventually it got there. But I think that, with the resources that we've provided in the book, it'll allow people, regardless of where they are, if they care enough and they're interested enough in each other, and they want to put in the effort, you could start from wherever you are and become hyper intentional from where you are moving forward in your marriage or your relationship. Because again, like we said before, we've reverted back to these same challenges and ways of being consistently over and over, time and time again, for years.
Yeah.
And they have not failed us.
Yeah. Still using to this day.
Quite literally.
Literally.
We're going to have to revisit some of them joints probably in the next 60 days or so, just because of what we got going on.
Yeah. Pretty much.
So
I think it's dope that we didn't have a roadmap, so we created our own.
Pretty much.
And we created it unintentionally too.
And we also designed a lot of like our aspirations and our lives and stuff like that out of who we want to be as people.
Yes.
Like, it wasn't always just the stuff and the material game, but like the type of person that we wanted to be.
Yes.
And a lot of the time that person was associated with what we wanted to do and become and all of that stuff, whatever. But we always put a high level of focus on our character because, again, we can get to a certain goal or do a certain thing, but if we don't like us when we show up there, that's a problem.
Facts.
So that's kind of a big deal.
That was a good ad. Yeah.
And so we need to be aware of who each other are becoming in pursuit of whatever the thing is.
That's good, babe.
In closing, because we got other stuff to do.
Yeah.
If you guys have enjoyed this, please do like, comment, and subscribe. We've enjoyed you guys, and we hope all of you were able to take some type of value, from the episode today. And until next time, family, my name is John Tron. This is my beautiful queen,
Adoria.
We are one dope couple. And until next time, peace and love.